All right. Okay, so let's see how this works out. Okay, hi folks. Tonight is Monday, October 25th. This is episode number 26, done under conditions of technical duress, but we will get through this. So once again, it's the Greenwich Stanford Tea Party Patriots, sponsored by YankeeTea.news. And we got our usual roundup tonight. But top of the list, who is Ray Epps? We would really like to know who Ray Epps is, because if we learn everything we need to know about Ray Epps, we will get to the bottom of what happened on January 6th. So, a gentleman named Darren Beattie has a highly recommended website called revolver.news. His top story, which will be there at least for the next few days, is about Ray Epps. Now, for fans of revolver.news, when you go to that website, they have a pretty good list of stories, and they run on for a bit. This breaks all the records. With the pictures, I think this article is 90 pages online, okay? Because we have found out that Ray Epps is clearly a central figure. He is we believe, it's still being determined, okay, but we believe that he is an FBI, quote, provocateur. We have numerous videos on that day showing him encouraging other people to break into the Capitol, go to the Capitol, do all the things that they were not supposed to do and cause those people to be thrown in jail. But guess what? He's still a free man. He's not in jail, even though you have the videos showing that he was clearly encouraging people to do all these illegal things. So there are just a couple of passages from the article I'd like to just emphasize here. Okay, so bear with me. After months of research, Revolver's investigative reporting team can now reveal that Ray Epps appears to be among the primary orchestrators of the very first breach of the Capitol's police barricades. And you see that in the video, where there's a bunch of guys, they're right there up against those barriers. He's right behind them, whispering in their ear, pointing to people, getting them to do things. What's going on? Anyway, so he was at 12:50 p.m. January 6th. So Epps appears to have led what they call the breach team that committed the very first illegal acts on that fateful day. What's more, Epps and his breach team did all their dirty work with 10 minutes still remaining in President Trump's National Mall speech. So it wouldn't have been about just him. And with the vast majority of Trump supporters still 30 minutes away from the Capitol. Okay, so this should tell you something. In the second paragraph, I'm just going to stop on this. Revolver also determined, and will prove below, that the FBI stealthily removed Ray Epps from its Capitol Violence Most Wanted list on July 1st. Just one day after Revolver exposed the inexplicable and puzzlesome FBI protection of known Epps associate and Oath Keepers founder Stuart Rhodes. July 1st was also just one day after a separate New York Times report amplified a glaring, falsifiable lie about Epps' role in the events of January 26th. So a lot of people know that this guy has clearly had a role. So again, revolver.news, top story, read it, share it, spread it around, because this is the kind of thing, and don't worry, Darren Beattie's pointed out they're on it. They're still working on this. There's going to be more stuff coming out on that. So I had to share that with you. Okay, next one. Fauci lied, says the NIH. Well, just when you thought you had friends you could rely on, right, Dr. Fauci? Yep. Okay. Now, mind you, I mean, the situation for Dr. Fauci is just getting worse and worse with each passing day. Okay. First, you had him decrying. So here's the problem. Like the good federal pinhead that he is, okay, he decided to change the definition of gain of function. Problem is, A, Dr. Fauci, you're fooling no one, and B, the terms and conditions under which gain of function were defined were the basis for all these grants that you let out. So once again, you're trying to move the goalposts. It's not working. Just want to let you know. Meantime, as more and more information came out showing that Dr. Fauci had lied and the NIH was complicit, who decided to pack it in? That's right, his boss at the NIH, Dr. Francis Collins. That took a 30-year career right out the door. So there's clearly a problem, and now comes this document making it clear that, even more clear, I mean, they're essentially repeating the same point over and over again, is that he was responsible for funding of gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab. He's continued to do it even after he was found out. This is just, it's inconceivable, but it's what's happening. Now, the other part that should upset anybody is the disclosure that he had also given out a $375,000 grant for researchers in Tunisia who worked on these beagles, where, you know, part of it was they're trying to, quote, take away their bark. I know beagles are annoying, but I mean, seriously? Okay. But the other part that just, I mean, if you're looking for a measure of how cold-hearted a person can be, God. It shows a picture of the beagles, okay, laying out, and what they're doing is they're letting sand fleas eat the dogs alive, okay?
42 times. They did it 42 times.
Wow. Anyway, so if you're still a little on the fence about whether or not you like Dr. Fauci, I think this should pretty much settle it for you, okay? Just, you know, we're waiting for justice. What else can I say? All right, next thing. Lectins help and block COVID. All right, this is a little complicated. Lectins, L-E-C-T-I-N-S, not a lot of people have heard of them. The best way to explain lectins is bread sticking to your hamburger, okay? Lectins are carbohydrates, like bread, but what they do is they're special carbohydrates because they will bind and stick to protein, like hamburger. So it's the same basic idea. Now what happens is when these lectins stick to different proteins, they cause different reactions in your body. Okay, if you were to look up lectins, and yes, we'll have all the links on the website, the point is that there are lectins you find in plants. Some of them are bad for you, some of them are okay. But the hard part they don't talk about is that your body makes its own lectins as well, okay? Now, the thing is that there's research showing that plant lectins can help block COVID-19, all right? So that's research that's still unfolding. But here's the irony. Your body's own lectins help COVID infect your body. Okay, a little something to think about. Now, what the nutritional connection is, I'm not sure of yet, but the evidence is there. And I'll just mention parenthetically, I came across some papers back in March about this, and I emailed a friend who knows more about these things than I, and he didn't know what to think. But I looked at this, it just seems logical by this paper that, I mean, it's a type of lectin in your body, it's called DC-SIGN, DC sign, that in effect, the DC sign lectin sort of helps to hold open the ACE2 receptor to make it easier for the COVID virus to infect your body. This is your own part of your body helping the virus infect even more. This is bizarre, but this is what they're finding. All right, moving on. Okay, the UK health report. This gets into a very difficult area. It's like chasing a shadow, okay? On the one hand, you have this discussion, such as in the UK health report, where they'll talk about the benefits of being vaccinated versus unvaccinated. But then you have to read between the lines. And then you're going to find these other sections where, well, they're not so sure about this, okay? And another version of this, besides the UK health report, for which we have the link up, Raheem Kassam with Steve Bannon had interviewed Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Think of it as a paragraph. So he spoke for the length of a paragraph. In the first part of the paragraph, he's talking about the importance of getting vaccinated. But then the last part of the paragraph, he contradicts himself by acknowledging that the vaccines don't prevent infection and they don't prevent transmission. So why are you talking about the benefits when you just admitted they don't work. All right? Very strange. So for this, I have to jump to the story down here, the Florida Surgeon General. Okay, he came out and basically said the same thing that Boris Johnson whispered at the end of his commentary. All right? In the meantime, if I just take a minute here, see if I can find the passage. All right? Now, the thing about this passage is that there are a lot of weasel words in here, okay? Would, could, may, possibly, likely, all right? So you can go and chase this down, but let me just read this, okay? Seropositivity estimates for the S antibody, that's the spike protein antibody, in blood donors are likely to be higher than would be expected in the general population. And this probably reflects the fact that donors are more likely to be vaccinated. Okay, seropositivity for the N antibody, that's the shell of the virus, will underestimate the proportion of the population previously infected due to, one, blood donors being potentially less likely to be exposed to natural infection than age-matched individuals, and two, waning of the shell protein antibody response over time. All right, when you read between the lines here, they're not quite going there, but they're moving in the direction, all right, where they're going to be stating, in effect, that those who are vaccinated will get sick more easily and cause others to get sick. This is from the UK itself, all right? But again, it's masked in all this phraseology. So I just had to share that with you. Moving on. Okay. All right, the Plainfield rally. All right, Saturday in Plainfield, Connecticut was a phenomenal rally. It was organized by America First. They had Marjorie Taylor Greene speaking there. It's estimated there were about 1,500 people. Eric and I were there walking around, talking to people, and we're going to be putting up quite a few videos. Of course, I want to highlight again Anne Dauphiné. She, continues to hold her ground and emphasize that this person who's arrogated these emergency powers to himself, King Lamont, is still very much in the same spirit as Hitler. And, we're not going to be letting this go. He's going to have to recognize that there are boundaries to his emergency powers, and he'd better respect them. That's what it comes down to. Now, this is going to get into another thing. I'm saving that for last. Okay, there was some great music. You had many other speakers there. And then there's this area where there are all these vendors. And what I have to report on behalf of YankeeT.News is that we managed to hook up with a lot of people. If anything, we have a huge job in front of us to get people in the state all talking to each other, all working together, because this ain't over. This is not over by any stretch of the imagination. So there was that. And then Sunday, there was the 51st, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, the 51st consecutive Trump One rally held in Prospect, Connecticut. They have been out there every weekend since right after the election last year. Debbie's deplorables. They don't quit. And I have to say, Wilm and I would agree because we were there. There was something about the way people were reacting. You could tell there was a higher level of interest and excitement that we were there, and they're just honking like crazy.
We get more honks.
Yes, getting more honks. Yeah, so like more honks per minute. How does that sound?
Yeah.
Right, a higher frequency of honks. Okay, now I'm going to move to some other things here. Just give me a minute. There is, let's see here, where did it go? There's this phenomenal, if that's the right word for it, piece. A guy named, see if I can find his name. Here, give me a minute. He's a professor of education, I think, at Berkeley. And here he is. Okay. You're going to love this. Okay. Activist professor claims, just read it, born human, you have to be abused into becoming white. Okay, we all get to step back for a minute and try to figure out what the hell he's saying, okay? Of course, what he's suggesting is there's something inherently, but culturally wrong with being white. And in critical race theory, they've tried to suggest that if you're white, you're an oppressor, period. There's nothing else to talk about. You've had professors try to claim that you see signs of racial discrimination in infants as young as a few months, which is ridiculous on its face. And so then you have this. Let's see here if I could I'll just read the quote. White children are not born white, they were born human, and little by little they have to be abused into becoming white humans. All right. Well, I don't know, with a name like Zeus Leonardo, I'm thinking that the gentleman might happen to be Hispanic or some other ethnicity. But that's okay. That's okay. There are no words for a person like this. How do these people assume positions of authority in an academic setting and then make these phenomenally idiotic remarks? I have no idea, but I had to share it with you, okay? Meantime, Massachusetts parents. A national parents group filed a federal civil lawsuit against a public school district in Massachusetts for violating the U.S. Constitution by racially segregating students into affinity groups and imposing a student speech code. Well, we should need a few more lawsuits around here. I have a few people in mind. But it's good to see that people are standing up, and this is just one more example, okay? And then the other part, there are two other things. So, all right. The research is in. It has a fancy name. The acronym is CVST. It means Cerebral Vascular Sinus Thrombosis. And where did that article go? But so the point is that they're going to tell you that it's rare. Of course, they always do. But this is a case where the research has been done, and they can establish with sufficient confidence to have a peer-reviewed paper published in the medical literature that basically says, yes, this condition of CVST, you have different causalities, but they're able to establish that vaccination can cause CVST, right? So with all these people still wandering around saying, oh, there's no proof, right here, there'll be more, don't worry, but here's one, all right? So I had to share that with you. All right, the last thing I want to talk about, and the most important, go to this website called Children's Health Defense, okay? Children's Health Defense. What concerns me and others is the fact that the FDA is going to be meeting, tomorrow, and over the next several days, hear testimony by experts, right, about the safety of these vaccines for children between the ages of 5 and 11. All right. I and others are sitting around in a state of grave concern about this. All right. I'm going to give you one example. In the previous phase, where there was, 12 to 18, a suppressed video showed this charming young 13-year-old girl who had believed she was doing the right thing and volunteered. And now it shows her, confined to a hospital bed in tremors, complaining, and just not doing well. And, rather than tell the truth, Comcast, of all people, decided to suppress that video. You can find it. It's there. But to think that this was suppressed. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so anyway, so it's Children's Health Defense, okay? All right, so what's coming is that once the approval goes through, you know that King Lamont is going to press hard on mandating this vaccine for children in the state. So this is why I'm working like crazy, trying to get these groups together. We've got to get the parents' groups together, okay, because this has to be stopped, all right? I mean, they don't listen to the science, okay? The survival rate, the rate of infection, all these good things, they don't care. Alternative methods of treatment, they don't care. All right? So, yes, everybody who sees this, you've got to find your friends, find other groups, find us, and we're going to be building up a way to make this happen. I'm working on a meeting for Friday for whatever groups I can put together, because basically we have to head them off at the pass. It's just one way to put it. All right, well, that's it for tonight, and thank you for listening. Goodbye.